Great. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Sarah Fairclough. I'm the Business Administrator for our Platform Solutions team, and today we're going to be learning a little bit more about the web page field view. Just wanted to let you know about a couple events this year. So our EMEA Summit is going to be in Dublin on April 29th and 30th, and Elevate is going to be in Boston later on in October, so we hope to see you there. A couple housekeeping items just before we dive in. We'd love to hear your questions, but if you can just hold off until the end of the demo, we will be having a Q&A period then. And now I'm going to pass it over to Greg.
Thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Stanley, and I'm a Platform Solutions Manager here with SmartSimple. And I look after the Family Foundations, that is my vertical. And today we're going to learn about the web page view. So what is the web page view field, and what can we use it for? So the web page view field is a special custom field type within SmartSimple that basically allows us to display pieces of HTML and CSS, as well as variable values from within SmartSimple. So what can we really use it for, and what kind of problems can we solve with it? Really, it's the big problem anyway is when internal users need to create documents using values from a record or from somewhere within SmartSimple. And how can we address that, and how can we solve that problem, is really by displaying those variable values in predefined, fully styled templates. And with these kind of templates, it allows us to then modify and customize them on a case-by-case basis. So how do we do it? As with any SmartSimple custom field, it starts in the configuration of the field itself. So we create a new custom field, the special web page view field. We populate that field with a HTML template. And the HTML template can be as detailed or as complex as you need. We also include a standard HTML template by default, which I'll show you a little later on. And then we can either add all of the fields that you want, or you can do it on a field-by-field basis as well. So what are the benefits really of the web page view field? We can easily create consistently styled documents, and we can create these on a case-by-case basis, on a record-by-record basis. Combinations of level 1s, level 2s, level 3s, and we can even pull in data from different UTAs as needs be. So as I said, we generate documents on demand. We can also use the web page view to modify the content of these documents. So we can start off with a pre-populated template with those variable values, and we can add in custom language as we need to, or we can remove language as we need to as well. It also basically allows us to use those documents in different ways. So we can attach them to emails, we can integrate with electronic signatures, and we can export them as Word documents or as PDF documents for easy portability or use offline. How do your end users benefit? Obviously, we have better efficiency just when we're presenting that information. They can also, the web page view fields can also be opened up to the end user, so they can generate some of these documents for themselves. Examples of this would be application summaries at different points in their process. And then at the end of it all, it includes more control over your configuration. So with the web page view field, you can limit what users can generate, so what content can be included in these web page views. So yeah, to jump straight into the demo, I will start sharing my screen here. And we're going to start with a simple example, one that most of you are probably familiar with, and that is the application summary button. So what is this? It is basically a pop-up PDF copy of everything that has been included on the application form. So if we take my grant application name, for example, that's what's included within the Extension to Community Center piece here. We can also pull in all of these individual fields. If we go back and we scroll down, we can bring in the mission statement. And you can see that it's a nicely styled, directly generated PDF document with the variable values pulled directly from the application form. We can integrate these directly with some of the workflow tasks that we use. So as the status changes on an application form, we can automatically generate these documents and we can attach them to the automated workflows. Typical examples of how this would work is at a LOI submission or at a full proposal submission. You'd want your applicants to receive a static copy of that document, so at least they know for their own records what has been created and what they submitted. Another example of the web page view field and how it can be used is to display program guidelines. Now this is quite a simple, straightforward web page view. You can see that the styling is quite limited, but these can be generated on a case-by-case basis, so on a program-by-program basis. Just like all of the fields and other elements within SmartSimple, we can display different data within these web page views based on the program type, the application type, the cycle type, any kind of condition that you need. And we don't have to, specify cycle-specific things. Maybe you want to include general instructions on how to go about completing the application form. Perhaps you don't want to use the tooltips, or you don't want to complete detailed instructions on every single field, but maybe a guideline or an instructional document that could be called on demand by the user could be quite useful. If I go to my internal tab, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of my screen and I'll show you some more detailed examples of what we can do. Another quite common use of the web page view field is the grant agreement. So here we have a placeholder grant agreement template text that again is being populated with the information directly from the application form. So we have today's date, the date that was generated, the application type, the project name, and we can see that the organization that's applying, their name is included in the appropriate areas within the template. As I scroll down as well, we can even do things like integrate signatures for internal signees. Perhaps your executive director doesn't want to be signing hundreds and hundreds of documents every single day. We can pull in a digital copy of their signature directly into this document that they can then, or whoever's responsible can then export for signatures from the recipient organizations. Across the top of the screen here, I have a couple of examples of some of the extended functionality of the web page view that we can use. So we can edit the document directly within the window. So as I said initially, if we want to make some changes, perhaps we want to take out this entire second section here, or maybe we want to add in some additional text. We can do that very, very easily. We can preview these changes so that we can ensure that they meet our requirements before we actually go and send these documents. So we can see that my text has been removed and I've added in an additional line on the fly. We can email this as a PDF, so if I select email here, it allows me to email the applicant. I can even associate different templates, email templates with this. So when I select email as PDF in this case, it basically attaches the document, so we can see here, generate grant agreement, to a blank template email that I can then populate. If there are multiple people associated with the application, maybe you have a co-applicant or maybe you have an external signee, you can select those users as potential recipients of the email as well. We can change the priority of the email, and we can also use other SmartSimple features like the object email address, so users can reply directly to this email and the reply is associated directly with it. We can also then attach other files. Again, maybe you have a document that you attach with grant agreements that you send out. You can pull files directly from your local disk, from a smart folder, or even from other custom fields on the application form. If I was to export it, it'll simply open in a new window as a static PDF document, similar to the initial application summary that we talked about. But one that, again, is quite useful is the ability to export as a docx document, which is the most modern version of Microsoft Word's file format. And again, that's the exact same, so it includes my additional text that I added and also removes the text that I removed, but you can also then make modifications to this offline. The great thing with the web page view and when you're using these template documents is you can actually batch all of this information as well. So from the main application list view, you can select all of the applications. Maybe you have a list view dedicated to approved applications where you want to send this grant agreement. You can batch all of that information in one go so that they receive their own bespoke and tailored grant agreement with that stock template. And as, again, some of you are aware, we also integrate with a number of online signature providers, Signarity, DocuSign, and Adobe Sign, to name a few. And those are available to you as additional add-ons if required. There's no real restriction on the amount of different web page views that you can use. As I said, we can display different grant agreement buttons here based on the application type. Likewise, we can display different award letters. And I know from dealing with some of you that award letters are things that you like to tailor to your specific grantees. And this is something where the edit function would come in very, very useful. You can make your edits, you can add your additional comments, you could do your exporting, and then you can either attach it or you can print it onto your letterhead and send it out in the mail as normal, whatever you need to do. And the last option here is just an example of a declination letter. So again, here we have a predefined template. It's using the exact same styling, but we have a placeholder piece of text where we can insert our additional comments as we need to. These are all very, very simple examples of how we use the web page view. There are, before I go into the configuration and how to get started with this, I just want to show you one more example of how some of our research clients use it. And what's quite common in the research space is detailed panel reviews. So this would be where an application would be sent to a specific panel of individuals who would have specific areas of interest, and they would perform their own individual and biased reviews. And what the grant administrator would then do is aggregate or consolidate all of those reviewers' comments, and they may include them in one of those letters or one of those communications to their grantee. And that's what we've done here. So once I click this button, again, we have our consistent branding, we have our reviewer comments, but we have our primary and our secondary reviewers' specific comments in these cases. And these have been anonymized as well. So the actual applicant has no visibility on who completed the reviews, but they do get the final pieces of feedback from them. So how do we actually configure these fields? So as I said, it starts with the custom field itself. So I'm going to use the configuration mode within SmartSimple, and I'm going to open our standard, actually we won't take the grant agreement first, we will take the application summary button. So this is a typical example, a very, very simple, straightforward use case of the grant summary button. As I said, we have a sample piece of HTML. So if you want to display everything included within the application form, all you have to do is create a new special web page view, apply your permissions and name it appropriately, click the Smart Fields View template, and it populates all of the styling to fit an A4 page, and it'll reference one variable at the bottom of the screen called Smart Fields. And this essentially includes every single field within the application form. You can, of course, remove the Smart Fields feature or the Smart Fields reference and put in your own HTML. You can use a HTML editor for this, the likes of Adobe Dreamweaver or even Notepad++ if you're comfortable writing raw HTML. Those can be used. There are also a number of free third-party tools online where you can generate HTML tables and HTML letters and things of that sort. But we can put in any kind of field. So we can select all of our individual fields here. Let's say we just want to include the mission statements. We want to include a phone number. Any of the fields that are included on the application, we can specify them using this picker, and it will display then within the application summary that's generated. Some of the other configuration features that we have here, we can label the button, we can apply different styling to the buttons. As you saw, we had the trash can for the declination letter, maybe a little bit inappropriate, but you know, you can decide on that yourselves. We have the dollar sign for the awarded letter. We have some other options on the actual document itself, so we can decide if we want to open it in a modal window, and the modal window is what you see here. It's this kind of pop-up window within the additional window, and that would be where the graphic would, or where the document would display with the buttons. We can enable editing, enable printing, enable switching languages if you have translations with SmartSimple enabled. We can define default use cases, so the default user ID, typically the owner or the applicant, could be set as the file name. We can render as an XML document if you really wanted to, but in the majority of cases we don't need to do that. And we can enable the field selection for smart fields. So as we specified some of the smart fields to use, if I take a different configuration here and I take again the printable application, we can see that we've enabled the checker in this case. So I can uncheck any fields that I don't want to see in my PDF, and once I generate it, these will no longer be displayed. So just some additional configuration options there. And we can hide all of the instructions fields. So any of these kind of tooltips, any of the instruction fields that are included, or any of the instructions that are included with fields, or any of the kind of big blue placeholder instruction fields that you may have seen, those can all be hidden in the generated PDFs or generated documents. If we are opening directly as a PDF, it skips the modal window entirely. So for example, if we were to click this now, you can see it's opening directly as a PDF and I have my default PDF options. But if we go back to my grant agreement, it's opening in that modal window that I previously mentioned. Some of the other PDF, we can enable the email as attachment, enable export, which are the buttons that show up along with the online signature, and we can even define passwords for the PDFs or save it to the server, which is saved to a smart folder directly in the system. We can make some minor changes to the PDF so we can fit to the page or enable rotation to landscape mode, and then we can fit to different file sizes or page sizes. And then with the HTML, so this basically, instead of exporting to a PDF, it exports to a HTML document, and we can enable emailing the HTML documents versus a PDF. And then we have our final export to Microsoft Word. And that is kind of a very, very quick overview of the configuration options on the web page view field and some simple and quite typical use cases of it. You can use it, as I said, to display any piece of information from across the SmartSimple environment. So another common use case is within our meeting manager here. We are using the web page view field. So again, if I have a look here, it's the same web page view, same HTML template, but we are generating a board book. So we are compiling all of our attendees, all of the applications to be reviewed by a board, and these are all being appended into a nicely presented single PDF file that can then be either printed for board members to review or automatically emailed to them when a board meeting goes into schedule. So there's a number of different use cases for this particular field. It is very, very powerful and very, very useful, and it's quite a popular and quite one of my favorite, easy to implement features within the SmartSimple environment.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Greg. So now we're going to open it up to questions. Will we receive a recording of this webinar after today? Yes, you will. We'll be sending out an email within the next week of your recording, so just keep a lookout in your inbox for that. So what would be the benefit of using the display for information instead of using the smart folder to upload a PDF?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's the kind of one or the other. You can always append a PDF that has already been uploaded to a smart folder after the placeholder, the simple text. So let's say you had a simple brochure or a foundation-specific brochure that you included with all of your program areas that you wanted people to be able to download and review, but you also wanted to include some cycle-specific instructions. You could combine the two with the web page view field by specifying the PDF from the Smart folder, but then also including some text in advance of that. And you can combine then styling or no styling as you need to.
If you make edits to the display, does it save these? Or would you have to change the same things if you open it again at a different time?
It is one time only, so it's when you click the edit button for the template at that point in time. It doesn't save it, so you can either export it as a PDF at that point or export it as a Word document for review. But if you were to make a change in the document, not export it or make any, not export it, close the window and reopen it, those changes would be lost and you would need to do it again.
In the email, if you use the file from local disk, would this save somewhere in the system?
Another good question, and that can use another SmartSimple feature called the email activity. So there's a separate level 2 activity that can be configured called email that records any ingoing or outgoing email and any appropriate attachments. So that's something that can be done, but it would need to be configured in your particular system.
Which designs can I add? Can I customize them?
So you can have any number of styles, any number of templates that you need. If you're customizing multiple kind of color schemes or layouts, you can use custom CSS styles that you can then specify or upload into a configuration Smart folder and call into the web page view. It would overwrite the built-in one, so you would need to be quite comfortable with CSS and HTML, but it can be done. There is no restriction on the amount of templates, custom CSS files that you want to use, or even custom web page view templates. So if you have 5 different programs, you have 5 different declination letters, there's no problem with you having 5 different buttons, but only showing one on the appropriate application form.
Is this an extra feature I have to add to my system?
No, it's a standard SmartSimple feature, the web page view. It's as simple as creating a new custom field. So once you have configuration access to the UTAs, you can create a new custom field called the web page view field and enable the smart field or all of the smart fields at a minimum and go from there. If you did want to maybe go more detailed or create multiple web page views, that's something you could do yourself, or you could always engage with us and maybe we could look at it as part of an RFS.
Can this feature be applied to organizational level data, or does it have to be on grant applications and activities?
Great question. No, it can be used anywhere. So the web page view field can be used absolutely anywhere. Organizations, user profiles, level 1, level 2, level 3, and you can even combine all of the above. So if you have a button on an application form and you want to pull information from the organizational profile, you can do that. And likewise, if you want to pull user information onto a review, for example, that's stuff that you can do as well.
When you make changes, how do you save them for someone else to review prior to sending? For example, a program officer wants to make a change to a grant agreement, but the grants manager has to review prior to the agreement being sent to the grantee.
It's a good question as well. So my suggestion there would maybe to have an internal upload field called grant agreement or pending grant agreement maybe. So that when you make a change, you can download it, re-upload it so that it's saved there, and then you can make modifications as need be.
We use this for our grant agreements, but the page breaks. This might be above this class, but how do we standardize page breaks when the PDF is sent to Synority?
That might need a little bit more investigation. The page breaks can be handled in a number of different ways. And from what I understand with Synority, it's simply specifying where the Synority tag needs to go. But maybe we can take that one offline.
Looks like another question about page breaks.
Yep.
Looking for as a PDF. Is there any way to address this without hard coding page breaks after certain fields?
That's another good question. I'll double check that one.
Can you pull information from different UTAs in the system?
Yeah, absolutely. So using list syntax or any combination of different references, you can pull data into those web page views.
Is there a way to guarantee contain layout when we have rich text fields and generated PDFs?
Rich text fields can be a little bit problematic because of the additional formatting that can be added to those fields. Typically, what we suggest when you're using these web page views for generating documents is to use standard plain text. You can constrain the layout, but it would require some additional custom CSS. Something like W3 Schools would be something that you need to kind of investigate there, because it would be just ways of referencing that language.
And for the individual that wanted to see enable the field selection for Smart Fields, if you could email us after the webinar, we'd be more than happy to have set up a call with you and show you that again. So, like you said, love to hear more questions from you and get some feedback. So if you'd like to email us at businesssolutions@smartsimple.com, that'd be great. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for attending.